thought as we talk about Skeleton Crew, while I'm late to the party on this one, I'm sure another episode of Skeleton Crew is going to be releasing in a couple hours. But I thought I would establish that one of the reasons that I think is super cool is when the show first got announced, one of the things I was so excited about it is that we'd be exploring space pirates. And it's made me want to go back and revisit my favorite pirate series that has a lot of similarities with this series, which is that of Black Sails. But while Creature Commandos has been enjoyable for kids and I do like it, Black Sails is the much better pirate series. But that being said, alone, and you can look forward to a Black Sails Season 1 episode review for me tomorrow because I've been re-watching all the seasons since my fiance had not seen it. But we're here to talk about Skeleton. Okay, so we picked up the last episode with us going on our journey, leaving the place we were at, and now we are actually thinking we're going to Aden. But in this episode, we get to see some surprising events. Now, I will say, going through what we are going to talk about what actually happened in this episode is 90% filler. And we will be talking about that. This is definitely the weakest episode of the show so far. But it has some redeemable qualities. So in this episode, we find out we're going to a point we think it's at Aden. It's not at Aden. We go to another point that's similar to Aden, but there's a war going on between these two different factions. And it's pretty interesting, but still counts as filler. What I think is really interesting about this episode, though, is they're doing a really good job with Jude Law's character of really kind of reading between the lines and kind of make us feel like, oh, which side is he on? Who is he fighting for? It's all kind of getting pretty interesting here. I'm really interested in where they're going with it. Like, it really just kind of sets the tone of like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? What's the mission? What's the takeaway here? Where are we kind of settling and reading between the lines? Because it is really kind of boiling into an interesting point where you feel like, okay, this is getting interesting. Is he wants to be their friends? He clearly tries to save and protect the children, or is he actually still just going to trade them in for a few bucks or a bigger prize, a treasure galleon, if you will? But that remains to be seen, as we do not get an answer to that in this episode. Because some good backstory with Neil in this episode. Fern was kind of a whiny brat in this episode, but I like that she actually had a nice moment with Wim. SM's story was interesting in this episode, how we found out that he actually, the former captain, wanted him to destroy every trace of this place, which I thought was interesting. And we actually ended up, one of the reasons that you're seeing Jude Law's loyalty being tested is actually the one that saved him, and saved the kids from him and shut him off, which I actually have a theory about, that this is actually goes into almost a little bit of Treasure Planet theories, where I actually think that the reason he was able to shut him off is because he actually was his robot. If you don't know, SM-33 is a direct inspiration to Smee from Peter Pan, and so I think that he was using this as he's meant to be Jude Law's character's first mate as a space pirate. But we'll really have to wait and see what happens in episode 5. But overall, an okay episode, filler-based but fun moments. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. What did you think about Skeleton Crew Episode 4? Are you still enjoying Skeleton Crew? It's not peak Star Wars TV, but it was a pretty good time nevertheless. Let me know your thoughts, and as always, may the Force be with you, and I'll catch you in the next video.